The amount of money you make is directly tied to the way you think. This isn't just some fancy quote. It's a proven fact. So many of us are chasing after wealth, hoping it will magically show up once we hit the right spot. But the truth is, wealth doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It starts with the way you think about life, opportunities, and your own potential. The richest people in the world didn't just work hard or get lucky. They thought differently. They understood that success wasn't just about the job, the hustle, or the strategy. It was about mastering their own mindset. If you want to change your financial situation, it's time to change the way you think. In this video, I'm going to share with you the exact mindset shifts that can take you from struggling to thriving. I'll show you why wealth isn't just about the numbers in your bank account. It's about building a wealth-oriented mindset that attracts abundance into every area of your life. You're about to learn the secrets that will change the way you see everything. So stick around. This is the kind of transformation you've been waiting for. Number 1, wealth requires mental discipline before financial discipline. Wealth doesn't begin with a paycheck. It doesn't begin with a bank account. And it sure doesn't begin with how much money your parents had or how much luck life handed you. No, wealth begins with something much more powerful. Your mind. Your mindset is the ground where every decision grows from. If that ground isn't solid, nothing you build will last. This is where it all starts. This is where the real foundation gets built. Not on paper, not in numbers, but in how you think every single day. And here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear. Before you can control your money, you have to learn how to control yourself. That's where mental discipline comes in. Now, most people try to fix their financial life by focusing on the money part. They read books about investing. They jump on new business trends. They watch videos on side hustles. They look for quick fixes that promise faster results. But they skip the one thing that actually decides whether any of those things will work long term. And that's mental discipline. Without it, even the best plan falls apart. But with it, you can take the smallest opportunity and turn it into something real. That's how powerful your thinking is. That's why everything starts there. Mental discipline is simple, but it's not easy. It's about building the ability to stay focused when distractions show up. It's about saying no to what feels good right now so you can have something better later. It's about showing up and doing the work even when nobody's clapping, even when no one's watching. And most importantly, it's about holding yourself accountable when things don't go right. Not blaming others, not making excuses, but standing up and saying, this is my life, and I'm in charge of where it goes. And here's the kind of truth that hits different when you really think about it. You cannot build financial discipline until you build mental discipline. That's the order. That's the process. And anyone trying to reverse it, trying to fix the outside before fixing the inside, will keep going in circles, because your decisions with money are just a reflection of your decisions with your mind. If your thoughts are messy, your spending will be messy. If your thinking is weak, your saving will be weak. If your focus is all over the place, your results will be the same, scattered and inconsistent. Now, I know what some people think. I just need to make more money. That'll solve my problems. But the truth is, money doesn't solve discipline problems. It exposes them. You hand someone more money without giving them the mental tools to manage it, and they'll end up broke all over again. That's not a theory, that's reality. We've seen it over and over. Lottery winners, athletes, entertainers. People who touched millions and lost it all. Not because they didn't make enough, but because they didn't think right. Because the money came before the mindset. But when you flip that around, when you start with mental strength, you build wealth from the inside out. You make better decisions. You take better risks. You build habits that stick. You're not just hoping for success, you're ready for it. That's the kind of mindset that doesn't just chase money. It attracts it, it earns it, it respects it. Think about this in your daily life. When the paycheck comes in, what happens next? Do you have a plan? Do you stick to it? Do you delay the things you want for the things you need? That's discipline. And it's not something you do once. It's something you do every single day. When you feel tempted to overspend, when you see others showing off, when your emotions start talking louder than your goals, that's when mental discipline shows up and does its job. That's when it protects you from your own impulses. That's what builds real wealth, slowly and surely. And let me tell you something real. something raw. Nobody is born with this. Nobody wakes up with perfect self-control. We're all tempted. We all want easy wins. We all struggle. The only difference between people who rise and people who stay stuck is who chooses to train their mind and who doesn't. It's that choice, that commitment, that one decision that says no more games, no more wasting time, no more running from what I need to face. And once you make that choice, everything begins to shift. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be consistent. You just need to show up for yourself more often. You need to put your vision above your feelings. You need to trade comfort for purpose. You need to remember that every time you say no to a distraction, you're saying yes to your future. That's the price, but it's also the reward. See, mental discipline doesn't just help you with money. It changes who you are. It gives you strength. It makes you sharper. It helps you build confidence. Not fake confidence, but the kind that comes from keeping promises to yourself. From knowing you're not controlled by emotion. From knowing you can trust your own decisions. That's the kind of strength that doesn't fade. That's the kind of mindset that can handle more and grow more. And when you build that kind of mind, wealth doesn't just happen by accident. It becomes the natural result of the way you think, the way you act, the way you live. You don't need to chase it. You just keep showing up with discipline, and it shows up with results. If you're tired of starting over, if you're tired of making progress and losing it, this is the key you've been missing. It's not another trick or trend. It's not about earning faster or spending less. It's about building a mind that doesn't quit, a mind that doesn't break, a mind that leads your life with direction, not distraction. You want wealth? Then don't start with your wallet. Start with your mindset. Train it, strengthen it, be honest with it. Because once you learn to master that, the rest starts to fall into place. And not for a moment, but for good. Now that's when your life begins to change. Not because something outside of you shifted, but because you shifted inside. And when that happens, wealth isn't just a dream anymore. It's a result. One that you built with focus, with effort, and with a mindset that's finally ready for it. Number 2, what you tolerate mentally is what you reproduce financially. What you allow in your mind is exactly what shows up in your life. You might not realize it yet, but everything you're experiencing right now financially, emotionally, and even how you feel about yourself is tied to what you've allowed, accepted, and tolerated in your thinking. If you've been living broke, confused, or just stuck in the same place year after year, it's not because you don't have the ability to change it. It's because somewhere along the way you accepted that kind of life as normal. And when you accept something mentally, you keep repeating it, not because it's what you want, but because it's what you've come to believe is possible for you. That belief, whether you see it or not, runs the show. You see, your mind sets the limit. If you tell yourself you're always going to struggle, your actions will match that belief. You won't try as hard. You won't stay consistent. You'll settle for less. Not because you don't want more, but because your thinking won't let you reach for it. That's the danger. That's why mental boundaries become financial realities. What you tolerate mentally is what you recreate financially. That's why you have to check your thoughts the same way you check your bank account. If the balance is low up here, it'll be low out there too. The way most people go wrong is they never inspect what they're carrying around in their mind. They never take time to ask themselves, what thoughts am I living with that are costing me? And that cost shows up everywhere. It shows up in how you spend. It shows up in how you save. It shows up in whether you take action on a good idea or talk yourself out of it before you even start. Because thoughts are not passive. They don't just float around without impact. Every thought has a cost or a reward. And if your thoughts are lazy, full of doubt, full of excuses, that's the exact energy that runs your money decisions. And those money decisions turn into habits. And those habits shape your future. So if your financial life isn't where you want it to be, start by asking yourself, what have I been tolerating in my thinking? Have I been saying this is good enough when deep down I know it isn't? Have I been ignoring the voice inside that wants more just to keep peace with people who gave up on their goals a long time ago? Have I been avoiding growth because staying comfortable feels safer than change? These questions aren't just deep, they're necessary. Because once you shine a light on the thoughts that are holding you back, you can finally break free from repeating the same cycle. Most people are afraid to admit the truth, that they've been the ones standing in their own way. That it wasn't the economy, it wasn't the job, it wasn't the background they came from. It was the pattern they kept thinking, and they fed that pattern every day. Not on purpose, but through routine, through what they consumed, through the people they let influence them, through the beliefs they never challenged. And here's the thing, just because a thought has lived in your mind for years, doesn't mean it deserves to stay. You can replace it, you can upgrade it, but first, you've got to stop tolerating it. This is where real change begins. Not with the money, but with the mindset. Because even if someone hands you a better opportunity, if your thinking isn't strong, you'll sabotage it. You'll find a way to mess it up. You'll make excuses. You'll doubt it. You'll hesitate. And success doesn't wait around for people who hesitate. Success moves toward those who are mentally ready. That's why people who win big usually started with a mind that refused to settle. They got tired of average thoughts. They stopped tolerating doubt. They challenged their own beliefs until they became stronger than their excuses. Think about the people you admire, the ones who rose from nothing, the ones who built something meaningful not just for themselves, but for others. They didn't start with all the answers. Most didn't have money when they began, but they had a mindset that didn't tolerate small thinking. That's the difference. They didn't wait for the world to believe in them. They believed in themselves enough to get started. And that belief grew because they kept showing up. They trained their thoughts. They fed their focus. They stopped letting old fears run new decisions. They made space in their minds for growth, and eventually that growth showed up in their bank accounts, in their businesses, in their lives. It's easy to point fingers. It's easy to say I'm stuck because I didn't get lucky. But the truth is, most people don't need luck. They need clarity. They need to take control of the thoughts they've been entertaining. They need to stop treating comfort like it's a reward when it's actually a trap. Because the more you protect your comfort zone, the more you shrink your potential. And the more you shrink your potential, the smaller your results will be, every time. So if you want to grow financially, grow mentally first. Decide today that you will no longer tolerate thoughts that keep you broke. That you will no longer believe the lie that says you're not good enough. That you will no longer accept just getting by as the story of your life. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to grow. But you've got to start thinking like a person who deserves it. Because if your mind isn't aligned with success, success won't stick. It'll come and go, just like motivation does. But if you rebuild your mindset with focus, with discipline, with purpose, you'll start to see change. Real change. Not overnight, but over time. And here's the best part. Once you clean up your thinking, your life starts to reflect that clarity. You start attracting better opportunities. You start handling money with intention. You stop buying things to feel good and start building things that last. You stop comparing yourself to others because you're finally focused on your own lane. That's the mindset of wealth. That's the shift that has to happen before anything else can grow. So if you're serious about building something meaningful, stop looking for quick fixes and start looking inward. Your mind is either holding your future hostage or it's fighting for your freedom. And you get to choose which one it is. You get to choose which thoughts stay and which ones get replaced. You get to say, I'm done tolerating doubt, fear, and average. Because the moment you do that, your financial life will begin to follow your mental one. It always does. And that's where real wealth begins to take shape from the inside out. Now, if you're ready, let's keep going. The journey doesn't end here. There's more to uncover. There's more to build. And it all starts with the next shift in how you think. Number 3. Wealth responds to people who think strategically, not emotionally. If you want to see real change in your life, you have to stop letting your emotions run your decisions, especially when it comes to building wealth. People who win in life, the ones who climb out of poverty, who build businesses, who save and grow what they earn, they don't just get lucky, and they don't follow how they feel every day. They think strategically. They plan. They prepare. They don't wait for the right mood to do the right thing. They move forward even when it's uncomfortable. Because here's the truth. Most people don't want to hear. Wealth does not respond to emotional reactions. It responds to discipline, to clear thinking, and to intentional action. The reason a lot of people stay stuck financially is not because they're lazy or not smart enough. It's because they let temporary emotions lead permanent decisions. They spend money when they're bored. They quit on their goals when they feel frustrated. They stop saving because it feels too slow. They walk away from opportunities because they're scared of failing. And they do all of this not because the situation was impossible, but because they let the emotion of the moment speak louder than the vision they once believed in. And every time you let emotion override strategy, you lose ground. You may not see it right away, but slowly that pattern takes away your momentum. It chips away at your confidence. And before you know it, you're right back at square one, trying to figure out how things slipped out of your hands again. You have to think about what you want in the long term more than what you feel in the short term. Emotions are important, yes, but they should inform your perspective, not control your path. If you only act when you feel excited, you'll never build consistency. If you only invest when the market feels good, you'll never build wealth. If you only work hard when you feel motivated, you'll never outlast your distractions. The truth is, wealthy people are not just dreamers. They're doers. They're planners. They're people who train themselves to stay steady when life feels uncertain. And the reason they stay ahead isn't because everything goes perfectly. It's because they respond with strategy instead of emotion. You have to build your mind to think beyond the moment. That's where wealth really begins. The ability to pause and think clearly, even when things around you feel chaotic. The ability to say, this may be how I feel right now, but it's not how I'm going to act. That shift alone can change your entire financial direction. Because most people don't lose to their circumstances. They lose to their reactions. They make emotional purchases that lead to debt. They stay in bad environments because they're scared of discomfort. They avoid hard conversations that could improve their future because they fear rejection. And every one of those actions, while emotionally understandable, becomes a roadblock to growth. Think about how many times you've told yourself, I'll start saving next month because this month felt too hard. Or how many times you gave up on something that had real potential just because you didn't feel ready. That's not bad luck. That's emotional thinking, hijacking a moment that needed clarity. And that's why mindset is everything. You can't build wealth with a mind that collapses every time pressure shows up. You need mental strength. You need a calm focus. You need to become the kind of person who doesn't flinch at setbacks. Not because you enjoy them, but because you know how to stay grounded through them. Now, I'm not saying emotions don't matter. They absolutely do. But they don't get to run your strategy. You have to feel them, respect them, but still move with wisdom. Because at the end of the day, wealth rewards patience. It rewards consistency. It rewards the people who are willing to do what's right, even when it's not easy. And the people who master this, they win. They might take a little longer to get there. They might stumble along the way, but they win because they think before they move. They observe before they react, and they plan before they spend. You have to start seeing wealth as a reflection of your ability to lead yourself, not just your ability to earn. Because the truth is, some of the highest earners still end up broke. Why? Because they spend without thinking. They follow trends. They make decisions based on ego or fear. They don't have a solid plan. And without a plan, income alone can't build wealth. It slips right through your hands. But if you train your mind to stay calm, to think long term, and to avoid reacting on impulse, you'll start to notice something powerful. You'll start making choices that put you ahead. You'll stop sabotaging progress. You'll start finding peace even when money is tight. Because you know you're building something stable, something that isn't controlled by every wave of emotion. This kind of mindset doesn't show up overnight. You have to work at it. You have to catch yourself in the moment. You have to ask, is this a reaction or is this a response? There's a big difference. A reaction is fast. It's based on emotion. A response is intentional. It's based on values, on goals, on who you're becoming. And once you learn how to pause, how to think, how to act with purpose, your life changes, your money changes, your energy changes, because you stop chasing quick fixes and start building real stability. That's the shift. That's where wealth begins to take root. Not in your bank account, but in your decision making, in your ability to think clearly under pressure, in your ability to stay consistent when things don't feel exciting anymore, in your ability to let vision win over emotion. The people who live well, who create freedom, who walk into the future with confidence, those people built their life on strategy, not on how they felt one day. And if they can do it, so can you. It all starts with a decision. The decision to stop being emotionally reactive and start being mentally strong. The decision to stop chasing quick relief and start choosing long-term gain. It starts when you stop letting feelings control your future and start letting wisdom guide your steps. That's not always easy, but it's worth it. Because once you build that kind of discipline in your mind, there's nothing you can't do. The money will come, the progress will come, the peace will come, but only after you've trained yourself to stop reacting and start thinking like someone who's building something that lasts. And once you do that, wealth won't just be a dream, it'll become your reality. Number 4, you can't expect wealth if you don't respect growth. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's this. Wealth doesn't just land in your lap because you wish for it. It doesn't come because you're tired of struggling, or because you've had a rough childhood, or a long list of setbacks. Wealth doesn't respond to frustration. It responds to respect. You've got to respect the process. You've got to respect growth, because you can't expect wealth if you don't respect what it takes to grow into the kind of person who can handle it. That's what people miss. They want the outcome, but they don't honor the journey. And that's where the real problem begins. There are people out there right now chasing money like it's the answer to everything. They're jumping from idea to idea, business to business. One week it's stocks, the next week it's crypto. After that, it's a quick hustle they saw online, and deep down, they're not really building. They're running from the hard work that true growth requires. They want the lifestyle of a wealthy person, without going through the changes a wealthy person had to go through to earn it. And that's why they stay stuck. Because wealth doesn't come to the one who's in a rush, it comes to the one who's grounded enough to grow. See, growth is not always pretty. It's not glamorous. It doesn't come with applause. Sometimes growth looks like waking up early when no one's watching. Sometimes it's saying no to things you really want so you can say yes to something better later. Sometimes it's showing up every single day even when nothing seems to be working. Yet, and you've got to learn to respect that. Because if you don't respect growth, you'll resent the process. You'll start feeling like life is unfair. You'll start comparing your journey to someone else's highlight reel. And the minute that happens, you stop planting. You stop watering. You stop tending to the soil that your future needs to take root. And without growth, you don't just stay the same, you fall behind. People think that wealth is just about stacking money, but true wealth is about becoming more valuable as a person. It's about expanding who you are, what you know, how you think, how you respond. It's about developing the patience, the mindset, the work ethic, and the focus to take care of something long enough to see it grow. And that doesn't happen by accident. That's a decision. That's you choosing to do the hard work inside before the rewards show up outside. You ever notice how the people who are truly successful, the ones who didn't just get lucky but actually built something that lasts, they carry themselves differently. They don't brag. They don't rush. They don't panic when something goes wrong. That calm they have, that clarity, that sense of direction, that came from growth, from years of pushing through when it was hard, from lessons they didn't enjoy, but learned anyway. And if you want wealth to stay in your life, not just visit for a little while, you've got to go through that same growth too. Now, most people will try to skip that part. They'll try to find a shortcut. They'll chase fast money. They'll copy someone else's strategy without ever developing their own understanding. And that might work for a minute, but it doesn't last. Because if you don't grow into the kind of person who can manage wealth, you'll lose it as fast as it came. That's why you hear about lottery winners going broke, or athletes who earn millions ending up in debt. It's not because they weren't talented. It's because their bank account grew faster than they did. Respecting growth means you stop blaming your past and start building your future. It means you quit waiting for someone to come save you, and you start taking responsibility. It means you stop talking about what you're gonna do someday and start doing something today. It means you stop pretending to work and actually put in the hours that lead to results. Growth is not just about reading books or watching videos. It's about applying what you've learned, about changing your habits, about cleaning up your environment, about surrounding yourself with people who challenge you instead of letting you stay small. And you've got to be real with yourself here. Are you honoring growth, or are you avoiding it? Are you showing up every day and giving your best? Or are you just doing the bare minimum and hoping for a miracle? Are you taking time to learn about how money works, how business works, how people think? Or are you just winging it and hoping it all works out? Because the life you want isn't hiding from you. It's waiting on you to grow into it, to be ready for it, to prove that you respect the weight of the reward you're asking for. And let me tell you, there is no greater feeling than knowing you earned it, that you showed up, that you stayed disciplined, that you did the work when it wasn't fun, because that builds confidence, that builds strength, that builds a mindset that doesn't crack under pressure. And once you've got that, no one can take it from you. The money might go up and down, the market might shift, but your foundation is solid, because you didn't just chase wealth, you became the kind of person who attracts it. So if you're serious about changing your life, about building something real, something lasting, something powerful, then you've got to respect growth. Stop trying to skip the steps. Stop trying to get rich without becoming rich in character, in discipline, in thinking. Wealth is a result of who you become, and who you become is shaped by how much you're willing to grow. Every time you feel discouraged, remind yourself, this is part of the process. Every time it gets boring, or tough, or slow, remind yourself, growth doesn't always feel good, but it always produces something good. And every time you feel tempted to quit, or take the easy route, ask yourself, is this helping me grow, or just helping me stay comfortable? Because you can't build something new while holding on to the old you. The old habits, the old thinking, the old excuses, you've got to let that go. And that takes courage, that takes maturity, that takes a real decision. But when you make it, when you start honoring growth, like it's the key to your future, everything changes. Your attitude changes, your results change, your life changes. That's how wealth begins. Not with a paycheck, but with a mindset. Not with more income, but with more intention. And not with luck, but with respect for the work, for the time, and most importantly, for the growth. Number 5. The strongest currency you can develop is mental toughness. There's something powerful about the moments when you're struggling in silence and no one sees it. Something deeply meaningful when you're walking through fire and no one is clapping for you, no one is checking in, and no one even knows how much pain you're pushing through. Because those are the moments that shape you into someone different, someone stronger, someone unshakable. And maybe right now, you're in that season. Maybe you're fighting battles that nobody knows about. Maybe your days feel heavy and your nights feel longer, and you're trying to hold it together when everything inside you feels like it's breaking. But let me tell you something real. Those silent battles, those long, lonely nights, those tears you wipe away with no one watching, they are not worthless. They're not in vain. They are building a strength inside of you that nothing and no one will ever be able to take away. People often misunderstand what real strength looks like. They think it's loud. They think it's tough talk. They think it's showing off, pretending you've got it all together. But real strength, the kind of strength that lasts, that's built in silence. That's built when you keep showing up for life, when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, disappointed, heartbroken, confused, and you still show up. You still work. You still try. You still move forward inch by inch. That kind of strength doesn't shout. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't need validation. It just exists quietly within you. And once you have it, it never leaves. See, nobody talks about the nights when you're awake at 2 a.m., overthinking everything, wondering if you're doing enough, wondering if you're enough, wondering if it's ever going to change. People don't post that part on social media. They don't show the side where you're questioning every decision, doubting yourself, holding in emotions you don't even know how to explain. But that's the part of your life where the breakthrough is being born. It's not pretty, but it's real. And the truth is, most people won't understand it unless they've lived it. And the ones who've lived it, they carry themselves different. Not because they're better, but because they know pain and they survived it. It's okay if right now you feel like nobody sees what you're doing. It's okay if your effort is going unnoticed. It's okay if you're making sacrifices and it feels like no one appreciates it. Because this is the season where you're not getting results yet. You're just getting stronger. You're learning how to keep going. without needing approval. You're learning how to be your own source of motivation. You're learning how to fight through the days when everything feels heavy, and that's a skill no one can teach you. You only learn that by living it. And once you've lived through this kind of struggle, you become dangerous in the best way. Because life can't break you the same way again. I know it's hard. I know it gets lonely. I know sometimes you look around and wonder why everyone else seems to be doing fine, while you're just trying to keep your head above water. But comparisons will only steal your peace. This is your journey, your timing, your growth, and don't let the silence fool you. Progress is still happening. You're still becoming. You're still building. Even when it doesn't feel like it. Especially when it doesn't feel like it. Because strength doesn't always feel like power. Sometimes strength just feels like not quitting. And that's more than enough. What you're building through this season is not just strength, it's self-respect. Because you're proving to yourself that you're not dependent on anyone else to save you. You're not waiting to be rescued. You're not waiting for someone to believe in you before you believe in yourself. That's power. That's resilience. That's what makes you unstoppable. The kind of power that doesn't come from books or podcasts or motivational speeches. It comes from living it, bleeding for it, falling and standing up again when no one clapped for you. And one day, people are going to look at you and see the confidence, the calm, the control. And they'll say things like, "You're so strong," or "You're so lucky." And they'll have no idea what it took. They won't know about the nights you wanted to give up. They won't know how many times you broke down and still showed up anyway. But you'll know, and that's what matters. Because the strength you're building in this silence, that's the kind of strength that doesn't need to be spoken about. It speaks for itself. So don't resent the struggle, don't wish it away. I know it hurts, but this season is building something inside of you that no success ever could. This is the foundation that your future will stand on. These are the moments you'll look back on one day and say, "That's when I became who I am." And maybe it's not about proving yourself to the world right now. Maybe it's just about proving to yourself that you're capable, that you're worthy, that even when life gets dark and messy, you've still got the heart to keep going. You don't need permission to grow. You don't need applause to matter. And you don't need to explain your journey to people who don't understand it. Just keep going. Keep doing the work. Keep showing up. Even if it's quiet. Even if it's slow. Even if no one sees it. Because when this season passes, and it will, you won't be the same. You'll be stronger, wiser, more grounded, and more powerful. And that's not something anyone can take from you. Not the economy, not a bad day, not the opinions of others. Because you didn't just read about it, you lived it, you earned it. So whatever you're facing right now, lean into it. Don't run from it. Don't pretend it's not hard. Just know this, it's shaping you. And if you can hold on through this part, if you can keep moving, keep breathing, keep believing, on the other side of it is a version of you that's not afraid anymore. Not insecure, not doubting, just ready. Ready for the life you're building. Ready for the next level. Ready to rise. Because the struggles you endure alone, they're not the end of you. They're the making of you. And once you've built strength in silence, there's not a storm in this world that can shake you. Keep going. Your future is waiting. Number 6. Wealth is more than money. It's a way of living. Wealth. That word alone lights something up in people. It draws attention. It makes hearts race a little, minds lean in a bit closer. Not because everyone wants to be rich just for the money, but because deep down we all crave a life where we feel powerful, secure, respected, and free. And for too long we've been told that wealth is just numbers in a bank account. That if you've got a fat wallet, you're winning. But let's get something clear right now. Real wealth is more than money. It's a way of living. It's a mindset. It's how you wake up, how you speak to yourself, how you move through the world when nobody's watching. You don't need $1 million to live wealthy. You need 1,000,000 reasons to treat yourself like you matter. See, most people miss this. They chase the money but forget to build the person. They want the lifestyle but skip the mindset. They hustle for income but stay broke in spirit. And that's why, even when they hit the numbers they dreamed about, they still feel empty. still restless, still chasing something more. You know why? Because they never understood what wealth really means. Wealth is in the way you think. It's in the way you handle challenges. It's in how calm you stay when life hits hard. It's in how you take care of your health, your peace, your purpose. It's in your ability to walk into any room with quiet confidence. Not because you're the loudest, but because you know who you are and what you bring to the table. That's wealth. You can feel broke in your pocket, but wealthy in your presence. And that inner wealth, that's the foundation for everything else. Because when you start showing up like someone who respects their time, their energy, their future, you start attracting opportunities that match that. People start noticing. Life starts shifting. And it's not magic. It's alignment. The way you think, act, and live is finally matching the level you've been dreaming about. And it has nothing to do with flashy cars, designer clothes, or showing off. It has everything to do with how solid you feel inside, how much peace you carry, how deeply you trust yourself when things don't go according to plan. Real wealth is when you wake up and you're not in a rush to impress anyone. You're not anxious about opinions. You're not depending on outside things to feel worthy. You've built so much value in yourself that external approval becomes optional. You become selective, not out of arrogance, but because you've done the work to know what you deserve. That's the life people want, even if they don't say it out loud. That's the kind of success that doesn't need to be shouted. It's felt. And let's talk about energy, because that's another currency the world doesn't teach enough about. Protecting your energy is a wealthy habit. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every phone call deserves a reply. Not every argument deserves your reaction. You start realizing that peace is expensive, and you're no longer willing to go broke trying to please people who don't even invest in you. That's a shift. That's when you know you're living differently. You start looking at your time like gold. You don't just spend your day, you invest it. You don't just hang out with anyone. You connect with people who make you grow, who challenge your thinking, who push you forward. Because now you're not just building a bank account, you're building a life. You begin to realize that health is wealth too. What's the point of having all the success if your body is falling apart? If your mind is tired, your energy low, your spirit drained? A truly wealthy person knows how to say, "I need rest," and not feel guilty about it. They know the power of eating right, moving their body, clearing their mind. They don't see these things as chores. They see them as rituals for a strong life. They don't grind until they break. They move with intention, with strategy, with self-respect. That's a wealthy life. Even your conversations change when you start living this way. You're no longer just talking about other people. You're talking about ideas, visions, progress. You start asking better questions. How can I grow from this? What's this trying to teach me? Who do I need to become to handle this next level? That's the mindset shift that turns struggle into strength. That's what makes you unstoppable. Not just because you have money, but because you have mastery. Mastery over your emotions, your reactions, your habits, your direction. And once you get that, the money starts to follow. Not because you're chasing it, but because you've become the kind of person who attracts it. Let's go deeper. Real wealth is when you're not afraid to be alone. When silence doesn't scare you anymore, because you've learned how to sit with yourself and actually like the person you're becoming. Most people avoid that. They stay busy, distracted, loud, because deep down they're scared of the quiet. But in the quiet is where clarity lives. In the quiet is where the truth shows up. And when you face that truth, you come out stronger, lighter, clearer. That kind of clarity is a form of wealth, because now you don't just move fast. You move with purpose. You're not just busy, you're intentional. And that's what separates the ones who chase success from the ones who embody it. Look around. There are people with a lot of money who are still broke inside. Broken relationships, no peace, no purpose. And then there are people with simple lives who walk like kings and queens because they know who they are, what they value, and they don't trade that for anything. That's wealth. That's freedom. And when you start redefining what wealth means to you, life starts to feel different. You stop needing to impress. You stop overthinking. You stop doubting. You just move, confidently, calmly, powerfully. You understand now that wealth isn't something you wait for. It's something you choose to live, right now, in how you think, in how you speak, in how you treat yourself, in what you allow, and what you walk away from. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have it all together. But if you start shifting your mindset, one choice at a time, you'll feel the change. You'll see how powerful your life can become when you decide to live it with intention. So don't let the world tell you wealth is just about money. Don't let anyone convince you that your value is tied to your salary or status. You are already valuable. You are already worthy. And the more you live like it, the more you'll attract people, opportunities, and experiences that match that truth. That's the secret. That's the real glow up. It's not just outside. It's inside. And once you unlock that, no one can take it away from you. Keep building. Keep growing. You're not just chasing success. You're living it from the inside out. And that right there is what wealth is all about. Number 7. A wealthy mind learns what school never taught. There's something powerful about realizing that the life you want is not hiding in a textbook, not buried in some degree, and definitely not waiting for someone else to give you permission. The truth is, the world's most valuable lessons were never taught in school. Not because they didn't matter, but because they weren't part of the system. But if you want to build a wealthy mind, you have to step outside that system. You have to rewire how you think. Because here's the thing that hits different. School taught you how to memorize. But real wealth is built by learning how to think. School prepared you to follow rules, but wealth demands that you learn how to break patterns. School handed you answers, but wealth grows when you start asking better questions. The difference is massive, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. Think about it. In school, you were rewarded for getting it right. You followed instructions, filled in the blanks, passed the tests, and got your grades. But in the real world, wealth doesn't come to the people who memorize answers. It comes to the people who create new paths, who solve real problems, who aren't afraid to fail. A wealthy mind doesn't just chase information. It chases transformation. It studies patterns, behaviors, psychology, money, pain, purpose, resilience. It learns things like emotional control, mental discipline, time mastery, decision-making, and self-belief. These are the lessons no one gave you a textbook for. No one pulled you aside and said, hey, this is how life really works. And that's where most people get stuck, because they're still waiting for someone to teach them, still hoping someone will give them a blueprint. But wealthy minds don't wait. They build themselves. This is the stuff that people love to hear, but rarely act on, because it's not packaged in a classroom. It's not comfortable. It's not predictable, but it's real. The people who succeed, truly succeed, are the ones who stop depending on someone else to educate them. They made it their job to grow. They understood early on that school might give you structure, but it won't give you wisdom. It won't teach you how to heal from failure. It won't teach you how to manage your emotions when life hits hard. It won't teach you how to be confident when the world is full of noise and comparison. But you need those things. You need to know how to lead yourself before you ever think about leading a business, a team, or a movement. One of the biggest shifts you can ever make in your life is realizing that knowledge is everywhere, but understanding is rare. You can watch 1,000 videos, read 100 books, take 20 online courses, but if you don't change how you think, none of it will matter. A wealthy mind takes the information and makes it personal. It doesn't just nod in agreement. It acts. It applies. It learns through experience, not just theory. That's the type of learning that sticks. That's how you become unshakable. Not by knowing everything, but by mastering the few things that matter most. You start learning how to read people, not just books. You pay attention to energy. You learn how to spot a lie, how to feel your gut, how to recognize when something's not aligned. You begin to value silence over noise, depth over attention, intention over perfection. And that kind of mindset, that's wealth. Because now you're not just surviving, you're building. You're designing a life that fits you, not one that was handed to you. You're no longer following someone else's path. You're creating your own. Let's talk about money too. Because school didn't teach you how to think about money. It taught you how to earn it, spend it, maybe save a little, but never how to multiply it, protect it, invest it, or detach your identity from it. And that's dangerous. Because if you don't learn how money works, money ends up controlling you. You chase it. You stress over it. You trade your time for it, without even knowing if it's making your life better. A wealthy mind studies money like a language. It doesn't see it as evil or holy. It sees it as a tool, a servant, not a master. And when you think like that, everything changes. You stop making emotional decisions. You stop buying things to impress people. You start thinking in decades, not days. You stop looking rich and start becoming powerful. There's a kind of self-education that happens when you get sick of your own excuses. When you look in the mirror and say, I don't know everything, but I'm not waiting anymore. That's when real learning starts. That's when you grow. That's when you build. Not because someone handed you a syllabus, but because you finally got honest with yourself. And you realize that the best school is life itself, if you're paying attention. If you're willing to learn from your pain. If you're humble enough to unlearn what no longer serves you. That's the kind of education that creates a wealthy mind. That's how you become the person who doesn't just survive storms, but becomes stronger because of them. Now here's the part that matters most. No one's going to force you to think this way. No one's going to sit you down and say, here's how you shift your mindset. Here's how you become valuable. Here's how you create a life of power, peace, and purpose. You have to want it. You have to want it more than comfort, more than fitting in, more than looking good on the outside, while feeling empty on the inside. And once you want it, truly want it, you'll find a way. You'll wake up differently. You'll start doing things that don't make sense to everyone else, but make perfect sense to the version of you that's growing. You'll study things that build your soul. You'll work on habits that strengthen your future. You'll protect your focus like it's gold, because you finally see the value of your time, your energy, your attention, and the people around you might not understand. That's okay. The journey to building a wealthy mind is often lonely, because it's rare. Most people are stuck in loops. Same thoughts, same habits, same complaints, different day, but not you. You're waking up. You're seeing things differently now. You're not just thinking about success. You're building the mind that success requires. You're not waiting for a miracle. You're becoming the miracle. And that right there, that's the most powerful education you'll ever give yourself. So keep learning. Keep asking better questions. Keep applying what you know until it becomes who you are. Don't just chase knowledge. Chase growth. Don't just read books. Live them. Don't just seek answers. Become the kind of person who creates solutions. That's how you build a wealthy mind. That's how you build a wealthy life. And the best part is, it's all in your hands now. You're not a student anymore. You're a builder. And the life you build from here, that's your legacy. Make it count. Number 8. Success is not about luck. It's about mental preparedness. Success doesn't happen by accident. It doesn't show up like a surprise gift or drop into your lap because you wished for it. And the people who are waiting for a lucky break or hoping the universe magically rearranges itself in their favor, those people usually end up staying in the same place, wondering why nothing ever changes. But here's the truth, and it might sting a little at first. Success isn't about luck. It's about being mentally prepared long before the opportunity even arrives. The people who win in life aren't always the smartest, the most talented, or the most connected. They're the ones who were ready when the door opened. That's what most people miss. They're waiting for the moment to come, but they haven't done the inner work to be ready for it. And when it finally does come, they fumble it. Not because they're not capable, but because their mindset wasn't prepared to handle it. You've got to build yourself before life gives you the chance to show what you're made of. That's the part nobody talks about. Because mental preparedness isn't flashy. It's not glamorous. It's not something you post on social media or brag about, but it's everything. You've got to build a mind that can handle pressure, navigate setbacks, stay disciplined, think clearly under stress, and keep going when things aren't exciting anymore. That's real strength. And it's the kind of strength that doesn't come from luck. It comes from training your mind every day, even when nothing is happening. even when the results haven't shown up yet, even when no one is watching. That's the level of preparation that success respects. When you look at people who've built something powerful, whether it's a business, a brand, a lifestyle, or just an unshakable mindset, you're not seeing luck. You're seeing the result of years of mental conditioning. You're seeing the long nights, the tough choices, the sacrifices, the discipline to say no to distractions, and the ability to keep going even when motivation disappears. That's what's underneath it all. And the reason most people never reach that level is because they're still hoping success will knock on their door before they've done the work to deserve it. But success doesn't work like that. It's not something you stumble into. It's something you grow into. And you grow into it by shaping your mind for the life you want, not the one you're currently in. Here's where most people go wrong. They think success is about doing more work, more hustle, more hours, but that's only one part of it. The bigger part is thinking better. If your mind isn't sharp, if you don't know how to control your thoughts, if you let emotions run your day, if you quit every time it gets hard, you'll never sustain success. No matter how hard you try, you can be the most skilled person in the room. But if your mind isn't built to handle rejection, failure, uncertainty, and growth, you'll sabotage your own progress. That's why mental preparation matters more than most people realize. Because life will test you, it will stretch you, and if your mindset isn't prepared, you'll break when it gets hard. But if it is, you become unstoppable. You want to know the secret behind people who seem to always be in control of their life, who always find a way to bounce back, who turn challenges into lessons and lessons into power. They train their mind to think differently. They don't panic under pressure because they've been through it mentally before they ever experienced it physically. They visualize themselves succeeding, failing, adjusting, and succeeding again. They've had the inner conversations most people avoid. They've faced their fears in silence, so they don't have to break in public. That's what mental preparedness looks like. And it's not something you turn on overnight. It's something you build daily, little by little, thought by thought, decision by decision. And let's talk about how this affects your habits, your choices, your routines. Because everything you do comes from your mindset. If you believe success is luck, you won't train consistently. You won't take your goals seriously. You'll wait around for things to get easier, instead of preparing for when they get harder. But if you understand that success is about being ready, you'll build habits that prepare you for the next level. You'll read things that grow your mind. You'll surround yourself with people who challenge you. You'll stop wasting time on distractions and start investing in preparation. Because when your opportunity comes, and it will, you won't have time to get ready. You'll either be ready or you'll miss it. That's why I always say, success doesn't respond to luck. It responds to preparation. When you've done the mental work, when you've strengthened your focus, when you've sharpened your self-discipline, when you've built a mindset that doesn't fold under pressure, that's when things start moving. That's when you stop hoping and start creating. That's when you shift from reactive to proactive, from victim to builder, from dreamer to doer. And none of that has anything to do with luck. It has everything to do with mental preparedness. And listen, I get it. Most of us weren't taught this. We weren't told to train our mind. We were told to work hard, stay busy, get good grades, get a job. But no one told us to build mental endurance. No one taught us how to manage fear, how to stay consistent without validation, how to find clarity when life feels overwhelming. But that doesn't mean you can't learn it now. That doesn't mean you're behind. That just means your real education starts here. From this moment on, you become the person who doesn't wait for luck. You become the person who prepares like it's already on the way. You want a better life? Start with your mindset. You want better results? Prepare your mind to handle the pressure that comes with them. Because success will test your patience, your character, your belief in yourself. And if your mind is not prepared, it will chew you up and spit you out. But if your mind is solid, if your thinking is clear, if your habits are strong, if your focus is unbreakable, success won't shake you, it'll reveal you. So from this point forward, don't pray for luck, don't wait for it, don't hope for it. Prepare yourself so deeply, so thoroughly, so consistently, that when your time comes, you meet it with confidence, not panic. That's how winners think. That's how success works. It's not about chance. It's about choice. The choice to be ready before it's your turn. The choice to work on your mind like your life depends on it. Because it does. And once you do that, once your mind is built like a fortress, there's nothing you can't handle, nothing you can't create, and no level of success that feels out of reach. You don't need luck. You need to become the version of yourself who's ready, right now, even if no one's watching yet. And when you do, life won't just happen to you. You'll be prepared to shape it. Number 9. Comfort thinking is the enemy of financial growth. We all know the feeling. You wake up, look at the clock, and immediately feel like you've already lost the day. You haven't even gotten out of bed yet, and you're already dealing with an overwhelming sense of stress. The day feels like a mountain you'll never climb. There's always something to do, always something that pulls you away from your purpose. But here's the thing. Success doesn't come from feeling motivated every single day. It doesn't come from waiting for the right mood or for the stars to align. Success comes when you force yourself to act, even when you don't feel like it. This is where most people miss the mark. The key to achieving anything in life, to truly making progress, is to push through when everything inside you is telling you to stop, to take it easy, or to wait until tomorrow. We all love the idea of being motivated. It feels great, doesn't it? The excitement of starting something new, the rush of energy when everything seems possible. But motivation is a fleeting thing. It doesn't last. It doesn't stay with you when the novelty fades, when the grind sets in, or when the going gets tough. And yet, it's in those very moments when success is made. Motivation is overrated. What you need instead is discipline. You need the ability to show up, day in and day out, even when you're exhausted, distracted, or discouraged. Success doesn't care about how you feel. It cares about what you do. It cares about whether or not you're showing up for your goals, whether or not you're moving the needle forward, even when you don't feel like it. Think about it for a second. Every successful person you admire didn't get to where they are by waiting for the perfect moment. They didn't sit around and wait for motivation to strike them like lightning. No, they got there because they forced themselves to keep moving. No matter how tired, uninspired, or frustrated they felt, they pushed through their doubts, their fears, and their exhaustion. They didn't let the tough days dictate their actions. And that's the exact mindset you need to adopt if you want to accomplish anything meaningful in life. The first step is simple. Get out of your comfort zone. Comfort is the enemy of progress. It's where everything stays stagnant. It's where you can't grow because you're too comfortable with the way things are. The moment you start getting too comfortable, that's when you stop improving. That's when you stop challenging yourself. And let me tell you something. Comfort kills progress. If you want to be great, if you want to create something extraordinary, you have to get comfortable with discomfort. You have to be willing to get out of that warm, cozy bubble and force yourself to take action, even when you don't feel like it. Because that's where the magic happens. Now, I know it's not easy. I know there will be days when you feel like everything is working against you. Days when you're drained and defeated, when your motivation is nowhere to be found. Those days will come. But that's exactly when you have to push yourself even harder. That's when you have to force yourself to work. You won't always feel inspired. You won't always be in the mood. But it's on those days that your commitment to your goals will determine whether you succeed or fail. Success isn't about feeling motivated every day. It's about showing up, even when you don't want to. It's about doing the work, even when it feels like it's pointless. It's about pushing through the hard days and trusting that the work will pay off eventually. The key is to get into the habit of doing it, even when you don't feel like it. If you can make the act of showing up a habit, it becomes so much easier to keep going. The more you force yourself to act, the more you rewire your brain to understand that taking action, no matter how small, is always better than doing nothing. It's about building momentum. At first, it's hard. At first, it feels like you're fighting against yourself. But as you start to show up consistently, day after day, it gets easier. Your brain starts to understand that this is just what you do. It becomes second nature to you. You don't wait for motivation anymore. You simply do the work, because that's what you've trained yourself to do. Let me put it in perspective. If you want to lose weight, you don't wait for the motivation to go to the gym. You just go even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it. If you want to write that book, you don't wait for inspiration to strike. You sit down and write, even if it's just a few paragraphs a day. If you want to grow your business, you don't wait for everything to be perfect. You take action every single day, even if it's one small step at a time. That's how you win. You win by doing the things you don't feel like doing. You win by forcing yourself to work, even when you want to quit. And here's something powerful about this. When you push through the resistance, when you continue to show up even when it's hard, you start to build resilience. You start to build mental toughness. You start to build a mindset that's unshakable. You stop allowing temporary feelings to dictate your actions. You stop giving power to your excuses. Instead, you take control. And that's when things begin to change. Success is no longer something you hope for. It's something you create through the consistent, relentless actions you take, even when you don't feel like it. Now, this doesn't mean you should ignore your emotions or push yourself to the point of burnout. This isn't about working yourself into the ground. What it's about is making a decision to show up every day, regardless of how you feel. It's about building a mindset that refuses to back down, that says, I'll take the action today because I'm building something bigger than today's temporary discomfort. When you adopt this mindset, success doesn't just become possible, it becomes inevitable. And when you get to the point where you're showing up, day after day, without fail no matter what, you're unstoppable. You see, it's not about waiting for the perfect conditions. It's not about waiting for motivation to hit you like a wave. It's about making the decision to work, even when you don't feel like it. That's the key. The more you commit to this, the more you'll realize that success isn't as elusive as it once seemed. It's there waiting for you to take the first step. No matter how difficult it feels, keep showing up, keep doing the work, keep pushing through the discomfort. And when you do, you'll look back one day and realize that all those little moments when you forced yourself to act were the moments that built your success. So if you're waiting for the perfect moment to get started, stop waiting. The time is now. The work is now. Success isn't waiting for you to feel motivated. It's waiting for you to show up. And when you make that commitment to work, to push through, to give your best even on the tough days, you will be amazed at what you can achieve. Just keep going, because the only thing that stands between you and your success is your willingness to act, even when it's hard. And that's what separates the winners from the rest. Number 10. Wealth is a result, not a goal. The real goal is mental mastery. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you attract by becoming the kind of person who thinks and acts differently. Too many people chase after money, thinking that wealth will solve all their problems. They set money as their goal, believing that once they have it, everything will fall into place. But here's the truth. Money is not the goal. Wealth is a result, a byproduct of something far more important, something far more powerful. That something is mental mastery. When we think of success and wealth, we often imagine the tangible, luxurious homes, fancy cars, endless vacations. And while those things are nice, they are not the true markers of success. The real success, the real wealth, is the mastery of your own mind. If you can master your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you can create any kind of wealth you desire. But it all starts inside your mind. Wealth comes to those who develop the mental skills to make the right decisions, to stay focused on long-term goals, and to persevere when the world around them is telling them to quit. Most people don't understand that success is not about the money you make, but about the mental decisions you make every single day. How you think determines how you act, and how you act determines the outcomes you create in your life. Let's break this down a bit. The world is filled with people who have money, but they don't know how to keep it or grow it. There are also people who struggle to make ends meet, but they have the right mindset and work ethic to eventually break through. So what's the difference? It's the mental mastery they've developed along the way. Money doesn't stay with people who don't know how to manage it. Wealth doesn't last with people who haven't developed the mental discipline to handle it. But for those who are committed to mastering their minds, wealth is inevitable. When you master your mindset, you begin to understand that wealth is simply a tool. It's not the end goal, but a means to achieve the life you want. Once you shift your focus from money to mastering your thinking, everything else starts to fall into place. This is why the wealthiest people in the world are not those who have the most money. They're the ones who have mastered their minds. They understand how to take control of their thoughts and emotions, And that's what allows them to make smarter decisions, take smarter risks, and build lasting success. It's so easy to get caught up in the chase for wealth, but that's a trap. It's an endless cycle of working harder, trying to earn more, and constantly striving for more money, more possessions, more status. But what happens when you reach that financial goal? What happens when you've earned the money, built the empire, or acquired the possessions? Does it really bring you happiness? Does it really give you the fulfillment you've been seeking? For many people, the answer is no. Money alone cannot create the life you want. It's only when you master your mental game that you can fully appreciate and leverage the wealth that comes your way. This is why mental mastery is the true goal. It's about controlling your thoughts and emotions, even in the face of adversity. It's about having the strength to stay focused on your goals, even when distractions try to pull you off course. Mental mastery is about resilience, about bouncing back from failure and continuing to push forward, no matter how tough things get. It's about making decisions that align with your values, your purpose, and your long-term vision. When you can do this, wealth follows naturally. Not because you're chasing it, but because you're becoming the kind of person who attracts it. Let's take a step back and think about this in practical terms. When you master your mindset, you begin to understand the value of time. You learn that time is your most precious asset, and how you spend it will determine your future. You learn to prioritize what truly matters: your health, your relationships, your personal growth, and your financial freedom. You stop wasting time on distractions, and instead you focus on what's going to bring you closer to your goals. And when you do that, wealth becomes a natural result of your choices. You begin to make smarter investments, smarter decisions, and you start to see the opportunities around you that others miss. Mental mastery also teaches you how to handle failure. Failure is not something to fear. It's a part of the process. Everyone who has ever achieved great things has faced failure. It's not the failure that matters, but how you respond to it. A person with mental mastery doesn't let failure stop them. They use it as fuel to grow stronger, wiser, and more determined. They understand that failure is simply feedback, a lesson in what doesn't work, and they use that feedback to refine their approach and keep moving forward. Wealth, when viewed through the lens of mental mastery, becomes a tool for personal growth and transformation. It becomes a means to live a life that aligns with your deepest values and aspirations. It allows you to create the kind of life you truly desire, one that is rich in purpose, fulfillment, and freedom. But without mental mastery, wealth can become an empty pursuit. It can become something you chase endlessly, without ever feeling truly satisfied. So if wealth is not the goal, then what is the goal? The real goal is to master your mind. It's about cultivating the mindset that attracts success and abundance. It's about developing the discipline to stay focused, to make decisions that align with your long-term vision, and to keep going even when things get tough. When you master your mind, wealth becomes a natural byproduct. You won't be chasing it anymore. It will be following you. Remember, true wealth is not just about what's in your bank account. It's about what's in your mind. And when you take control of your thoughts, emotions, and actions, you will unlock the door to unlimited possibilities. The kind of wealth that comes from mental mastery is the kind that lasts. It's the kind that brings true fulfillment and freedom. And that's the kind of wealth you should be focused on creating. When you master your mind, you master your life, and everything else falls into place. So let go of the idea that wealth is the goal. Shift your focus to mastering your mind, and the wealth will come. The true goal is mental mastery. When you achieve that, success is no longer something you chase. It becomes something you create. And that is the ultimate form of wealth. You've just taken the first step towards shifting your mindset. Now it's time to put these principles into action. Remember, wealth isn't just about what you have. It's about how you think and what you're willing to do with that mindset. The real transformation starts when you change the way you approach life and every opportunity that comes your way. Take control of your thoughts, cultivate discipline, and surround yourself with the right influences. Focus on growth and mental toughness, and watch how everything around you begins to shift. Wealth starts in your mind. If you can master that, the rest will follow. Now go out there and show the world what you're capable of. Keep practicing these principles every single day, and soon you'll see the results you've been working for. Thanks for watching. Keep growing, stay focused, and never stop believing in your potential.